they're in dispute, but to have the ability to read over his attachment, and I believe Francine provide for everybody?
I don't have the pen.
No, I think I just put it, it came in late, so she put it
Oh.
on in front of you there.
Okay, we can table that.
Okay.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
If that makes people more comfortable, we'll table those. So I need a motion to table.
Motion table the December 15, 2009 public meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion of tabling the minutes of December 15, 2009, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
They were already tabled, but they'll remain on the table. The next ones are the January 4th public minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay? Is there, I have no idea, but I'm finding the,
It's all one page.
they do it. I have them all together here. Let's see. February.
What's yours?
I did read these over. I'm gonna ask that these be tabled because I'm not comfortable. I don't think I have these in my packet, so I'm gonna ask that they be tabled also. They're tabled, right?
3 days.
I'll ask for a motion to table, because I don't have them. No, January
Go right ahead.
4th, I don't have those in my packet.
Make a motion we table the public minutes of January 4th, 2010.
Okay?
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
I don't have the non-public from January 4th either.
Okay, when we get to those, we'll have
Well, it's on
to,
the same line.
yeah, I know, but we're just following for the public
Oh, I'm
portion.
sorry.
Okay? All those in favor of tabling the January 4th, 2010 public minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The non-public you don't have. I happen to have the non-public but did not have the public. Okay, so you want those?
I don't, yeah, I don't have them, so
Okay, so those, I need a motion to that effect.
motion to table the non-public from January 4th.
Is there a second with?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to table the non-public minutes of January 4th, 2010, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, seeing none, those are tabled. Moving on to the February 1st.
I have neither.
You have neither, okay? There are probably some people didn't get,
I don't know about the check with Francine.
And I have it.
I did too, but you didn't
Yes, I
get
did
them,
get
huh?
them. I've gone through this a dozen times.
Okay. So we want to table February 1st?
That's my motion. You don't have to, if you don't want to.
Go ahead.
You know, I guess, you know, at this point, it seems like everybody has some pieces or whatever. Why don't we set aside the minutes for the time being, because we're going to go through this and find out.
Well, yeah, but if we have the other ones that we've already read.
Okay.
I know what you're saying, Joanne, I appreciate it, but we're just gonna make this worse again next
Okay.
month
So we have tabled the non-public ones as well.
for the yes.
Okay, for February 1st, you did
Yep.
not have?
Either.
Okay, so I need a motion to table there too,
Motion
to table both
to
the public.
table both public and non-public.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion with regard to that? Seeing none, all those in favor of tabling the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to the February 16th.
Got those.
You have those.
You have those? Okay. You must have got the preferred package.
Okay, we'll start off with the public portion of those minutes.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Oh, there you go, Tom.
don't have any notes on it except for the fact, and I think it must just be that somebody forgot with regard to this, that they're supposed to be copied on both sides of the paper.
Mine
wish
are.
Mine aren't. That's okay. I'm just a tree lover. Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
All right,
Okay, so there are nothing? Okay. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, those minutes, okay. Now the non-public, we'll do a non-public, and then there are the March 2nd. You have those minutes?
I have March 2nd, yes.
And I'm going to ask for those to be tabled because there's a number of things in here that are not added.
Okay.
I'm abstaining on that one, but I will not get.
Oh, okay, so I'll make the motion to table the minutes.
Second.
Any other discussion? No? Seeing none? All those in favor of tabling the minutes, signify by saying aye. Okay.
Non-public from the 16th, February 16th.
Yeah. February 16th.
We didn't do the non-public.
I thought you meant both of them for that, no?
Oh, I'm good with that.
Oh,
My
okay.
misunderstanding, we're just doing the public at that point.
Okay, the non-public. Sorry. So you made a motion?
I make a motion to accept the non-public
Well, I have some corrections and they need to be done in non-public.
and set it aside.
Okay?
Okay, sorry.
That's it. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public input. Anyone here wishing to address? Please state your name.
Michael Sorrell, 54 Cross Road.
Before you start, Mr. Sorrell, please be aware that it's only 5 minutes.
I noticed that.
Okay, and the reason is there are a number of people who often want to speak, and I have been reminded again this evening that the public input does go on for some nights close to 40 minutes, so
I'll be
keeping
brief-
that in mind,
Brief as I can be.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you so much.
One of the services that the Hooksett Police Department has offered is if you go away, you're going to be, your house or your property's going to be empty, they offer a house check, property check. My wife and I have availed ourselves of that service. We were away, I was away recently, took the grandchildren to Florida. We fill out a form. The people who can have access are on that form. While we were away, we had some problems with no power. And I had to authorize a couple of my maintenance to set up an emergency generator. So I called in to let the police department know that there were people that weren't authorized to be there on their form. And I got a hold of a dispatcher at night. She said she'd make a note. But I called the next morning just to make sure, and I got a hold of Sergeant Blanchett, and he said, I'll make a note. When Officer Casey came to sign off, you have to sign off when you get home, both of those notes were attached to the form. And that caught my attention. I thought that was a pretty good organization. The system works pretty good. And I signed the form. Just want to pay a compliment to the Hooksett Police Department.
Thank
Good
you.
service.
Thank you.
I'm concerned that we may lose that service with the severe budget cuts that we've just experienced. I've got a couple of questions, if you'd help me with my numbers. I sat down this afternoon and I thought I came up with that you had submitted that the Hooksett Police Commission budget is in fact the Police Commission's budget. It's not Chief Grafiotis' budget, is that correct?
It's a budget,
When it
yes.
goes to the Budget Committee, it's the Commission's budget. And you had submitted a budget that was pretty much level funded from last year, within $800.
Actually, I believe it was a little lower.
It was lower.
By $800.
No, because of the compensation for
Right.
the benefits.
And the council removed about $63,200 from that budget.
That's correct?
And then I believe that the Budget Committee, if the newspapers are correct and my numbers are clarified, took an additional $350,000 from that budget.
That's correct. A little more than that, 357, I don't remember,
I thought it was
799 something.
358, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I rounded it to
Yeah,
350. And help me with my memory from last year. I believe that the Budget Committee had reduced the Hooksett Police budget last year by $259,000.
Well, you're asking me a question, I don't know the answer. And I-
That's my memory.
Yeah.
I believe so.
And if my memory is correct, and these numbers correct, those numbers total $672,200 that's been taken out of the police department budget in the last 12 months. And I am concerned about that. And I just wanted to express my concern to the police commission and Hooksett Police Department. That's a lot of money.
Mhm.
We always have differences of opinion, and I know that in all budgets. I've been on the budget committee. But that's a lot of money, and I'm just concerned that the budget committee is acting in a punitive way with respect to the police department budget. I just recently, yesterday, received written permission from Fred Bishop to read into the record the minutes of this meeting. I have a copy for each of the commissioners, a copy for the recording secretary, and a copy for the chief, Madam Chair.
Okay.
This is the testimony that Mr. Bishop gave at the public hearing at the House of Representatives on January 26.
I
For House-
believe we have received this already.
I want to read it into the record, please. And I would like this to be part of a verbatim part of the minutes of this meeting, so that when it is put onto the website, it's not referred to as an attachment, that all of the language is part of the minutes. I make that request.
Well, I think that's a decision that's going to have to be a decision that's made by the police commission. The way we have handled it is in the past, and we've had some discussion about minutes and how we should
I
approach it.
understand that. I just wanted the request to be on the record.
Okay, but I just wanted to make you aware of the decision of the police commission that we were not doing that kind of thing, and what we were doing is doing attachments, because if we do it for you, we have to do it for everybody else. I just want to make you aware of that, so that you find out after the fact and say, hey, I thought it was going to happen.
I just wanted to be on the record.
Okay,
I
that's
made that
fine.
request.
Okay, thank you.
This is testimony before the Municipal and County Government Committee on January 26, 2010. My name is Frederick Bishop, and I have been a resident of Hooksett for nearly 40 years. I wish to speak against increasing the number of police commissioners in Hooksett. My education includes a BS degree in accounting from Southern Hampshire University and an MBA from the University of New Hampshire. I retired from Public Service Company 6 years ago after completing 44 years with that company. My last position was Director of Customer Service for the state of New Hampshire, where I was responsible for 300 employees in New Hampshire. Over the past 35 years, I've done a lot of volunteer work. This includes serving in leadership positions in a number of organizations, some of which were in Hooksett. Currently, I serve on the Hooksett Economic Development Committee, where I chair its business visitation program. In 2002, I was selected as Hooksett Citizen of the Year. Included in my volunteer work is serving 6 years on the Hooksett Police Commission, with 2 years serving as chair of the commission. During my 6 years, I dealt with 2 chiefs of police and 1 interim chief. As a result, I have a good understanding of the commission's functions and responsibilities. One thing I learned that the police departments can have an unusually large number of employee performance issues. Another is that police officers should never lie during internal investigations. To do so can damage the officer's credibility, and later court settings. The 3-person commission has very limited responsibilities. These include having only 1 direct report, the chief of police. Responsibilities include hiring, disciplining, and firing the chief. The commission has the final word on hiring and firing all police department employees. It also has responsibilities for developing and managing the budget. The commission has no law enforcement responsibilities whatsoever. Commissioners come from various backgrounds. Today in Hooksett, one is a business person who previously served as town councilor. Another is a respected CPA who has a long record of community service. The third is a former chair of the school board and member of the planning board. Her spouse is a Superior Court judge. Commissioners are appointed by the town council to a 3-year term. 1 commissioner is appointed each year. Chairmanship is rotated amongst the 3 commissioners so that each serves as chair for a year. It's important to ask ourselves why we are here looking at increasing the number of commissioners from 3 to 5. What is the problem? Things were quiet with the police department and the police commission until about a year ago. A small group of community activists began openly criticizing the police chief and commission on the operation of the police department. One issue related to spending $30,000 on a new sign for the safety center. The most outspoken matter was disciplining a very popular school resources police officer. A number of disciplinary issues occurred with the eventual discharge of that officer. Other former officers have come forward to criticize the chief and the commission. What must be understood is that the commissioners have personnel information about problems with these former employees that cannot be made public due to privacy issues. A third issue is the department turnover. Some say it is very high, but an average of 10% a year for the past several years, it is about the state average. During the HEDC's business visitation program, we asked local businesses about their experience in dealing with town departments. The police department receives the most positive comments. This small activist group wants the chief fired. Some have called for increasing the number of commissioners, perhaps gaining a majority willing to fire the chief, or if this fails, abolishing the commission altogether. Some town councilors may be on board with this strategy. This is not the proper way to handle personnel matters. 3 commissioners have worked well for Hooksett for the past 30 years. We already have 3 people supervising only one person, the chief. We do not need to expand the local government and expense it by increasing it to 5. I am told that there is only one community in New Hampshire that has more than 3 police commissioners, and that is the city of Manchester. I am reminded of my former employee that is governed by the New Hampshire Public Utilities Commission. That is a 3-person commission, not only is responsible for a large internal staff, but also for all gas, electric, telephone, water, and other companies operating in New Hampshire. Why do we need 5 police commissioners to supervise one person in a small town police department? In addition to expanding local government and expense, this could have the undesirable result of creating situations where the public is excluded. With 3 commissioners, no 2 can meet privately to discuss police matters, since 2 represents a quorum and a requirement to publicly post the meeting. With 5 commissioners, any combination of 2 can meet privately without public notification. Commissioners 1 and 2 could meet, then 2 and 3, 3 and 4, and so on. A deal could be easily cooked in private. Lastly, what happens if folks are unhappy with 5 commissioners? Will they be back here again to increase the number to 6, 7, and 9? Thank you for your time. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. I hope I didn't pass my 5 minutes limit.
That's fine, thank you. Anyone else here wishing to speak? So that we're all on the same page, everybody gets the same dime.
Well, good, you got 9 minutes, I just timed it. I just doubled my time, but I won't be that long. My name is Maura Willett, 3 Summerfair Street. I just have a handout for the commission.
Thank you.
At your last meeting, I was talking about the ratio of admin to patrol of other communities compared to Hooksett, and mentioned the dedicated West Side car. I stated that even when you got the approval for 5 extra officers for the dedicated West Side car, we never hired 5 officers. We added a captain's position, so that right there took the dedicated West Side car away from full-time coverage. I was told by one of the commissioners that I was wrong. So I went back through my paperwork and found copies of the town reports for 0102 and 02 and 03. The report indicates that in 0102, for sworn officers, we had 1 chief, 2 lieutenants, 6 sergeants, 4 detectives, and 11 patrol officers. The second town report for 0203, after the approval of the 5 officers for the dedicated West Side car, indicate that we had 1 chief, 1 captain, 2 lieutenants, 7 sergeants, 4 detectives, and 14 patrol officers. And in the report, it stated that including the 5 new positions effective 1/1/2004. So as you can see from these 2 reports, the additional 5 positions were 1 captain, 1 sergeant, and 3 patrol officers. These 2 reports lead me to believe that we never put in place the 5 officers that would make up the dedicated West Side car, unless you have information to the contrary.
I guess I can't answer the question.
I know you can, and actually it was Dave that said that I was wrong. I know you were here then.
I don't have that answer.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak this evening? Please identify yourself.
David Burrow, 79 Main Street. For the record, regarding my complaint about the sheriff's investigation, which I'm referring to as complaint number 2, I realize that it was misplaced, but that you now have it in your possession, so I'm hopeful that we might hear about it at the next meeting.
I also responded to someone else with regard to an issue. It's not for lack that we haven't been working on it, and I'll give you, so to speak, the way we have been doing it. What we have been doing is we have been working on it, and until we get the document or the response in a way that's acceptable to everyone, it will be sent out.
Okay. I just
But
wanted to
it's
put on the
not for
record
lack,
that,
it's not for lack that we haven't been working on it.
I just wanted on the record that you have it.
It is on my radar
Okay,
screen.
so that's all I'm asking. Thank
I don't
you.
have anything else, I don't know about Easter or anything else, but
Okay.
those things, it's on my radar screen.
Regarding complaint number 1, this is a question that I had brought up in part of the complaint about the chief confirming information in a personnel file. On February 19th, I received a letter from the police commission regarding my complaint on this matter. The letter reads as follows. As to the issue of the chief calling Officer Jane Defina a liar, we agree that the use of this term was inappropriate. As to the issue of the chief revealing personnel information to the public, the commission notes that Officer Defina had previously released his personnel information to the press. Under these circumstances, the chief's disclosure of personnel information was at best a non-issue. So that was the response that I got. Let's take a step back. Let's go back to July 13th, 2009. Officer Defina had just found out that he was no longer the SRO officer, and that very same day, he was given an evaluation by Lieutenant Klein. Given this officer's repeated pattern of incompetence and insubordination, I am recommending that Officer Defina be terminated. I fear that retaining this officer may subject the department to litigation for negligent retention. This is what Officer Defina tells the Hooksett Banner that Lieutenant Klein wrote in the evaluation. Then the chief is contacted by the Banner, and the chief says, if he told you that, he's lying. About half an hour later, the chief retracts that statement, saying the lieutenant did, in fact, recommend termination, but said that that is no reason to assume that Defina will be let go. So within half an hour of being contacted by the Banner, without Officer Defina's permission, the chief publicly calls Officer Defina a liar, obviously without looking at the evaluation, then reads the evaluation and confirms the information from the evaluation to the Banner. The chief confirms the statement may subject the department to litigation. Without consulting the police commission, and I guess without consulting a lawyer, without consulting Officer Defina, the chief confirms sensitive information in Officer Defina's yearly evaluation to the Banner. So I asked the chief about this at the police commission meeting, and he said that he was responding to the paper to set the record straight. The chief is not required or was not ordered to set the record straight. He is the one that decided to divulge the personal information. I don't think he was ordered by this commission to do that. The chief has told us many times that he cannot divulge information from a personnel file. In fact, when we asked why Officer Defina was fired, he told us that there was information in the personnel file that he cannot release. The chief then goes on to say, the evaluation was not in the file at that point. Because it had not gotten to the file, it wasn't official. Wasn't official. Does this mean that you will confirm or deny information to the public about an officer's yearly evaluation as long as that document hasn't been filed in the personnel file yet? So basically the chief is saying to the Banner, yeah, we're worried that if we don't fire him, we might get sued. His repeated pattern of incompetence and insubordination, yes. And Lieutenant Klein did recommend his termination. I would say prior to this that these facts were not confirmed. Now let's jump back to February 19th, and the letter that the police commission referred to this as, at best, a non-issue. So let me get this straight, if this is a non-issue. If a news organization calls tomorrow and says that they have information from an evaluation, you're okay with the chief confirming it? Or denying it? I don't think that's where we're at, and that's what the letter is saying to me. Yesterday, I had a discussion with an HR professional. She made it very clear that confirming information is divulging information. She also did not buy the theory that an evaluation is not confidential because it has not yet been filed. I might put 4 questions which I will submit to you in writing, and I will ask you to answer them at your next convenience. 1. Were all the Hooksett AOMs and SOPs followed regarding the chief's statement and the processing of my complaint? 2. Was any disciplinary action taken regarding the chief's inappropriate statement? 3. Does the commission agree with the chief's assertion that an evaluation is not official because it has not yet been filed? And 4. Will the commission confirm information thought to be in an officer's personnel file? And I'd just like to submit those questions in writing with my signature and the date on them.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here this evening who wishes to, yes, please identify yourself.
J.R. Roulette, 3 Summerfair Street. I had a few inaccurate statements in the minutes of March 2nd. I was wondering if I could give to the commission to
Sure.
evaluate, possibly make a change.
Sure.
Since we're talking about the budget a little bit and some items that Mr. Sorella brought up, I just wanted to clear a few things up. It's my understanding that last year's budget cycle, a good portion of those cuts were made from a lieutenant detective's position that was included in the budget. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. I would also like to know, I was wondering what the percentage of funds that were expended to date are as far as the budget, this year's budget.
Is it today's date? Is that the, yeah, is that the
Item.
56.34%? 56.34%.
And how much have we expended?
7.31 over the year. That's our next report anyway.
Yeah.
So 66 point, excuse me?
Right, the last report from the town was
0.31%.
as of February 28th.
So basically, you're looking at the police department right now is under budget by approximately 11%, is that correct? Okay. Okay, it's also my understanding that $292,000 was returned to the general fund from last year's budget cycle, plus around another $66,000 for benefits, for a total of approximately $358,000. So I just wanted to bring that up. At the February 2nd, 2010 Police Commission meeting, I brought up a number of questions regarding the K-9 officer program, and I never received any answers to it. I also brought these up, same questions up in October 20th, 2009, and I was told I was to be able to get some answers to that, and now it's been 5 months. I was wondering if I could get some of the answers in reference to the K-9 program.
I did take the email that was sent to me to make sure that they were given to the appropriate person. And I'll say to you what I said earlier, that there were some responses that were made that they need to be reviewed by the commission before they can be sent out. So that's where we are with regard to them, but it's not for lack that I have set them aside and not done anything with them. Like I say, I've got a number of them, but they
Yeah, I
haven't been.
understand that. So, yeah, I will be getting something.
Yes, you will.
Another thing I wanted to talk about is, I just wanted to get a clarification on the cost breakdown for the new hire. According to the cost breakdown, the total cost indicated $21,243.37. And I was wondering if a new hire receives benefits. Can anyone answer that?
Chief?
We receive benefits, but the breakdown, I don't have that budget information in front of me.
No, I'm saying a new hire does receive benefits when they're hired.
Yes, it's full-time employee, yes.
From the time that they're hired, right?
90 days.
So,
It's gotta be a 90-day delay.
excuse me?
Is it after probation,
No, not after.
right from day one?
Can't be. It's gotta be a 90-day delay.
Rather than give an answer that's not correct, let's do this. Would you please write that down to look into it, please? Thank you.
Well, in any event, it sounds like there are some benefits, even if it's a 30 days, 60 days, or whatever. I think these costs should be included into the breakdown for the new hire. Also, there was, the breakdown indicated there was a uniform cost of $1,678.75. I was just wondering if this cost includes a weapon, holster, tasers, miscellaneous equipment needed for the job, or does the new hire receive the equipment from an officer that left?
I don't have my budget information in front of me.
So do they
We have
receive
it.
new, like a gun and holster, is that all new, or is it the hand-me-down stuff?
The weapons would be what's here. Taser, the belt is just like their other clothing, it depends if it fits or not. You know, if we have them, generally they're worn, so generally they would get a new one, depends on what we have on hand.
During the time the new hire is in training, what happens to the unfilled shift?
I think you spoke about that.
We don't cover that overtime.
It's overtime.
Overtime, we're left open, one or the other.
So if it gets covered, as you indicated, one of the past police commission meetings, I was wondering why this cost hasn't been included in the cost breakdown for the new hire.
Because it's not always covered, so it's not a guarantee it's going to be covered.
I think that was also part of
It's
that,
really part of the cost.
that statement that I made to the budget committee with regard to where we are this year, and it's not always overtime, sometimes there isn't any one, so there isn't any cost.
I've talked to other departments, just the cost that we have, what I receive is a lot less than most other departments, so that's why I'm questioning it, breaking it down, because normally, well, I would assume that shift would be taken, would be covered, because that was what we were led to believe at one of the past police commission meetings, that when there was concern about dropping down to 21, 22 officers, we were told that, as far as services, there wasn't going to be any issue with services, nobody would see any different because those shifts were covered. And now I'm hearing that those shifts are not being covered. or
That
they may
statement,
be.
I don't know if that statement was made, that there wasn't going to be any difference in services.
I have it on tape,
Oh, you do?
yeah.
I find that strange, because I think there definitely is going to be
Well,
an effect in services.
We were led to believe that there would be no change in services, that we wouldn't notice any different
Okay,
because those shifts were covered.
okay.
And, you can see that on Hook City Issues if you like. The other thing, I was wondering, I noticed that the certified officer for New Hampshire, the training is only 6 weeks, is that correct?
Yeah, our FPO program,
Yes. Well, for, like, if you had a New Hampshire officer that was coming from another department and was coming here to Hook City, is it only a 6-week program that you offer?
well, they go through our field training program, and it depends, they may very well accelerate through it, so you can't actually put an actual time to it. They have to meet all the criteria. They're a New Hampshire officer, they're going to breeze through it a lot quicker than, say, a certified officer from Massachusetts. So they'll be done in the program when they're done in the program.
I mean, is it statistics-wise, you would normally see that it's a six-week
I don't
program?
have that information.
The only reason why I ask is that one of the officers that left here back in November, he's still not on the road after almost 4 months. And he's in New Hampshire, and he was obviously a certified officer in New Hampshire.
He left here to go where? To go-
Manchester.
Oh, okay.
So it's been almost 4 months, he's still not on the road, so I was just curious, why would there I know it's Manchester, and I
department is
understand that, it's Manchester, it's a little more, it's a bigger department, I'm sure it's more in depth, but I'm just wanting to verify that you're saying that
I think that was an average.
it's 6
I think
weeks.
that was the best we could come up with for an average, but again, it depends on the skills of the person.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll look into that, thank you. I believe, I don't know if the commissioners are okay with that, but I believe that Officer Dark has had his hand raised, and I think he could help us out. Is that what he raised?
I was just gonna say, on the field training thing, it was basically like maybe the first 2 weeks, the officer is in-house with paperwork, gets outfitted by the lieutenant, takes him down to get uniforms, but after that, the officer on the road, the riding with me, that shift is open, that shift is not open, it's full. It's not an overtime shift, it's basically, the shift is, ride with me. If it's scheduled with me, that officer's assigned, stay with me, my shift, my 4 days on, my 2 days off, works with me, or the other FTO. So the shift, he's actually taking calls.
Okay. Thank you.
If that'll clarify something there is on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
I just
Yes.
wanted to say a couple of things. Officer Darkis from Hooks PD. I'm one of the ones that, I've been here 11 years, I've been doing it 26 years, and I'm just getting tired of hearing all the negativity about the police department in the paper and on the website and stuff. And speaking with the other officers that are here, we just kind of like to say that, we understand that certain people have a problem with administration or with the commission, the way things are being done and that money is being spent, but I think overall the bad publicity or the going after administration has affected the morale downstairs because they're getting all the negativity in the news. Townspeople are asking questions, what's up, and overall the budget looks like it's going to get cut. And, I'm one of those ones that's going to be feel the cut. We, right now, if we get cut down to 23, if we stay at 23, a lot of, maybe services will be cut, it's possible. Shifts might go open. If they don't, they're going to be forced overtime. And I'm one of the ones that, if the lieutenant asks me to work overtime, I'll work overtime, with no problem. But no one wants to be forced overtime. Someone likes to have some time off to your family and friends and do stuff. And I really don't want to see the budget cut. And speaking with the other officers, they don't want to see the budget hacked anymore. We are basically a young department now. A lot of the guys with a lot of knowledge are gone that knew the people in town. Granted, we have officers that are coming on board from other agencies, from other states, but still, they might have police knowledge, but knowledge of the way Hooks and PD operates, the townspeople themselves. I mean, meeting the townspeople is an important thing. I mean, Vinny and stuff like that. You meet these people day in and day out. We are a town. We're going to see these people all the time. I don't want to see anybody else leave. I'm not going to go anywhere. I have no issues, or what's going on. I'm not a money budget person. I don't bitch about the budget or anything like that. I just hoping that things go smoothly and that the department the townspeople will vote in favor of getting us some extra people, because we really need the help out there. The guys are going to be strapped thin pretty soon. And I just wanted to speak my piece on that part here. I don't want anybody mad at me and stuff like that, but I just had to say something. I've been reading the papers once in a while, and I just don't want to hear it anymore. I'm just hoping that it comes to, even today, I understand that there's people here that really support the police department, they're trying to do the right thing, but we're still getting negativity, and we're dealing with stuff from last year. And I don't want to see the ghosts of these people affect the way we're running now. I mean, those people, and those other officers, I love them all to death. I really do. To me, that's all issues that are being taken care of outside of Hooks Police Department. It's all legal stuff, and we don't get involved with that. I just like to see us go forward and let the stuff in the past be gone and go forward.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you
I
very
use my
much.
5 minutes, somebody else can have the rest of mine. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak? Yes, would you please identify yourself?
Sure, Paul Lozage, 21 Post Road. It's good to hear the officers speak in regards to the negativity and such, and I kind of brings it forth to me that I don't really see it as too much as negativity per se. I kind of look at it in regards to, like I said, I was at the council meeting, but you guys weren't really able to attend. And I brought forth the problem I have as a new citizen or a new member of this community, going on 3 years, is that I want to see that our tax money gets spent correctly and fruitfully. At that council meeting, I brought a poster which looked at a comparison because of this equity raise issue. I took Goffstown and compared it to Hooksett. I've said that there's an issue here which deals with morale, which deals with what I call failure to thrive. The department has not evolved, it's stagnated. And one of the things I know that, what's going on in this department is anything but simple. I understand that sometimes people in command or supervisor roles do not recognize, ethical dilemmas or other controversies or things that happen. I manage a small division of Hitachi, and sometimes I do things that are maybe not according to what I say everyone else should do. And those things got ripple effects. Like I said before and said over and again, the reason I got involved in here because I saw an officer I felt was persecuted. And that was Jay DeFina. That was the only reason I got involved in this. Now going through it, what I've been trying to do, I've been working on a crime map, which I'm putting together in my free time as my hobby. But also I've been doing some analysis in regards to command and control structures. And one of the things I was looking at is, once again, on discipline. I still, to this day, hold the opinion that the discipline is levied suspiciously on officers. I also say in the best case, discipline is indiscriminate and handed out as a means of management or a method of management rather than being used as a method of nurturing, training, and mentoring these line officers. I agree with Mr. Sorrell. I made mention of this at the council meeting that every interaction I've ever had with the line officers and even the dispatchers when I called in for suspicious activity or stuff like that, 100% courteous, follow-up, 100% professional. Even with the command staff, my interactions with them have been cordial, and I'm sure with my rantings that's sometimes probably hard to do, but they're very professional in that sense. But one of the things that I keep coming back to is that there is a stagnation malaise in this department, which has to do with in regards to the fact that it's just not progressing. With such stagnation, it's understandable that employee retention would be problematic and add to it mishandling of discipline, and I can understand why this department has lost, and as the officer was just before me stated, continues to lose its most experienced officers. Now that's what's happened, it's accelerated, and as far as in this last year, negativity or whatever, I think the catalyst of it is the handling, or I say the mishandling of those school reports, and all of a sudden people are getting defensive. I will say that I feel that there's a culture here of a need to know protection of information. I've never seen it as blatant as here. Now, with that, one of the things I'd like to say is, I'd be interested in understanding this, is that I just learned at the council meeting that 2 sergeants left. Just because I look at dynamics of corporations and I look at if you lose key people, he was talking about it, actually we call it brain drain. You get a stagnant organization, people don't see a future, or they don't see growth, either personal growth or professional growth, and you get brain drain. Most talented people usually just leave. They just say, forget it, I'm not going to deal with this, I don't have to, I can go. And I'd be interested, because as a panel, you can judge an organization's strength by how, and it's a good gauge, is how they fill a void. Because there's 2 ways in a corporation that happens. In a situation of brain drain, there's 2 things they do. Either they have people that they brought up, which in this case I guess would be line officers, or they cobble. And an indication, negative indication of an organization's strength is cobbling. And cobbling is the sense of taking resources from other areas which are critical in order to fill that void. So that would be interesting for my research, because I'm preparing a report on that. Another organizational strength is adherence to rules and regulations. And I'm not talking about just rules and regulations, SOPs that can be interpreted, but hard fixed ones. One of the things that concerned me about Mr. Pearl's complaint was, I was reviewing the AOM and SOPs, P252 covering internal affairs has really specific language in regards to how those complaints are handled. Matter of fact, it goes as far as to say that if this SOP is not followed to the letter of the SOP, that is taken as being misconduct within this organization. So I'd like to say that if I take Mr. Pearl's aspect here, one of the things that you see here in section E, right here, is I asked Mr. Pearl about this earlier this week, and if you read it, it says as soon as that complaint is filed,
Madam Chair,
you must prepare.
whatever happened in 5 minutes?
I can finish this in 20 seconds. It says you should prepare and send a letter of complaint acknowledging receipt of the complaint, the control number of the assigned investigator, and how the complainant may contact the investigator. And if you read through here, there's some other aspects of it which would be of concern to me. So that's all I need to bring up. Thank you.
Was this for us to keep this?
Yeah, you can have it. Actually, the police department has many copies of it.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
I would like to, either for my own edification, but it's my understanding, and these people keep referring that we lost 2 sergeants. I'm only aware of 1. Am I wrong, Chief?
One sergeant resigned, one sergeant went to another agency.
They keep referring to 1 that is driving to Portsmouth. I'm not aware of 1 that is driving to Portsmouth.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes. Now, would you please identify yourself?
My name is Vincent Rimbaud, 56 Main Street. I wasn't planning on talking here tonight, I was just kind of observing. But Officer Pete said some things that concerned me. First of all, let me say I support the commission, and I support the police chief and his command staff. And I think that they should have gotten the raises that they got. So I want that on the record right now. But my concern is what Officer Pete said about the morale in the department being dragged low because of the budget cuts that this police department is encountering right now because of the budget committee. And it's my opinion that certain individuals on the budget committee, 4, possibly 5, have a personal vendetta against the chief and maybe his command staff. And they're taking it out on the police budget. I'm sure the police chief and his command staff can defend themselves if and when the situation arises. But when the budget committee starts going after the police budget to go after the chief, there's something wrong with the whole picture here. And if they got an issue with the police chief, maybe they ought to resign from the budget committee and do what they need to do with the police chief and his command staff, and then get back on the budget committee, because there's a definite conflict of interest. And I brought it up to the town administrator, and I brought it up to other people in the town. So I want to know, does the police commission have a concern that there's a conflict of interest between the budget committee and the police chief? Does anybody want to address that question? And plus the fact that it's affecting the well-being of the town and the citizens if the budget gets cut so bad that we can't get the necessary coverage for the town.
Well, with regard to ethics and whatnot, and the town does have an ethics policy, I think it is for each individual to look at, whether or not they have a vested interest outside of just being of service to the town. And the reason I say that is that I have been on different committees, or on, say, the planning board, and the question has come up of whether or not somebody should recuse themselves or whatever. And I think that's an individual thing that a person has to decide for themselves whether or not that is the issue. But I'll tell you something that I did observe, that one of the individuals that it was stated that they had a personal vendetta, this person was willing to put money back into the budget, okay, because of some information that we brought forward. So, you know, I'm not gonna make any judgments, but I think that that was based on information that they got, and they realized that, you know, perhaps, you know, they didn't have the right information, and that's why they wanted to increase the line. As far as anybody on the budget committee, that's not my you know, job to have an opinion about what they're there. What my job is, since I'm the budget committee representative, is to be able to speak to the budget and to say the reasons why we have the line that we are requesting, and to be able to support it with a justification that the voters not only understand, but are willing to accept. And if they don't accept, I guess that's what, and that's the only thing I can say.
Did you justify the budget at the budget committee meeting?
I did,
And they cut it again by $350,000?
I did, but I'm not going to, you know, I don't have any reason to know what their justification or whatever. I did, and you know, I have to preface this by saying, I'm the newbie here, okay? I barely have my feet wet with regard to this, so there's a lot that I have to learn. But I did my best, and the rest will depend at the deliberative session in, you know, why we are requesting the amount that we're requesting. And if voters are not satisfied with that, I guess.
Well, it's saddened to me
But I did my best.
to hear a line officer get up here, and he probably wasn't planning on doing it, but he's been so frustrated at the negativity at this police department in this town that it's affecting the line officers too, as probably well as the command staff. So,
And I can
where is it gonna end?
Right.
Where is it gonna end? When is it gonna be over? What has to be done to get this thing settled and where this police department can move forward? That's a rhetorical question.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak this evening? Seeing none? Okay, we'll move right along. Thank you. Number 6, which is the monthly report. We have the town, in your packets, you have the town, I guess, well, let's take, I'm going to line this up where I don't have my little ruler here. Like when we're talking about police equipment, and that line is overspent. And when I asked you at one time, Chief, where do you take the transfer from, and you said you didn't do that.
So we take them out of the appropriate line.
I know, but it's overspent, so you have to get it from someplace. Where are you getting it from, or what are you doing? How are you dealing with that? You're just using it as the bottom line budgeted?
Correct.
And that's it?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And I guess the other question was with regard to the wages. Okay, we're at 56.26% expended presently.
On this report, yes.
Okay, and I guess my question was going to be, with regard to those potentially that were doing the interviews and whatnot, what do you feel the capacity is to hire within this budget? I know there was some concern from Commissioner Gagnon with regard to whether or not we should hire, given the fact of not getting our budget, and what does this mean for the subsequent budget?
Since the budget we are in now is higher than the budget that's proposed at this point.
Would you hire?
Yes, but I'm looking at the number that is proposed, not this number, because this number, this bottom line is higher. My
Okay.
concern, as I believe I stated, was I wouldn't want to hire a number of people in this year's budget if the budget that's proposed at this point in time is lower, because then we'd be laying people off. So I'm looking not at hiring up to the number that we could afford in the current budget, but up to the number that the citizens ultimately will give us at town meeting,
The 25?
if that's what the citizens vote, yes.
Yeah, well, based on what the
But
recommendation.
based on what the recommendation is,
Okay.
that's the target I use, not how much is in the
Oh,
current
okay.
budget. Because
That's-
the current
that's-
budget has more than that
Okay,
in it at this point.
okay. And, what was the other thing? I guess the other line that seems to be getting up there pretty high is the vehicle maintenance, and we have concerns that we'll be able to make it.
Yes, I don't have concerns.
And, and the negotiations is certainly well over too. Okay. Those were my concerns. Anyone else have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Moving right along. We'll begin under old business with the crime prevention activities, the neighborhood watch group. We have Bill Jack right here, I don't see him.
I was supposed to be here, I'm not sure why you couldn't make it, but have.
Well, we have
It'll default
the
to me, I
man,
guess.
we have the man in charge.
We actually have 3 items that were under that, under the crime prevention activities, the neighborhood watch, which Sharon and I talked about with the Department website, so I'll have Cecilia, if it's okay, address the neighborhood watch, give an update on the meeting that was held last week, I think it was.
Yes.
First meeting, and also an update on the website, and then you and I talk about the pipeline.
Okay, go ahead if you would.
Okay, neighborhood watch first. We did have our first meeting. We had 8 of the 9 people show up that are debating on whether to be coordinators for their respected areas. 8 of the 9 showed up. It was a positive meeting. It was a little over an hour. We had to meet everybody. At that time, we laid out the program to them. Bill Schachter did, and asked them to go home, make sure that this is something they want to do, because it is a commitment. There is some training involved. And we anticipate the next meeting is the following Thursday of this week, the 24th, I believe.
Next week.
Check my calendar. Night of the 24th, it'll be in this room. Again, if people want to volunteer to be part of the program, some of the coordinators already have volunteers underneath them, which would be nice, so the program can expand as we get the email chains and everything set up. It's a matter of having those coordinators, they can step up. We want to make sure that that's something they're committed to. One person at that meeting said that it was a little bit too much of a commitment for them, but they were going to try and find somebody else in her area, which is fine. And then we'll start our training process and we'll walk from there.
I think we also spoke about perhaps getting a press release out, and that perhaps is something that Dan could help us with.
Yes, we put out a press release immediately following the meeting.
Okay.
That we had our first meeting, that did go out. Like I said, anybody else is willing to volunteer or wants to come forward, I'm more than happy to more than all right.
Could people come and just kind of monitor the meeting to see if it's something that they felt comfortable?
Sure, more than all right.
Okay.
It's held right here in this room, and the next meeting's the 24th at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Once the training starts for the individuals, I don't know if that'll be something we'll have, because the commanders will train the people that are underneath them once they receive their initial training. So that's how the program's set up to work. But I'm sure for this next meeting, Will Mary was still looking for people to step up as commanders. But I'll make sure.
Okay. I think it's one of those things, once people see it, in existence, it'll draw some attention to itself and people will come forward. Thank you.
That's Neighborhood Watch.
Website?
Website.
Website. We're lucky enough tonight to, it is up. It's hookspolice.com, hookspolice.net, and hookspolice.org. We would have registered as a domain name and put on a server. All the town owns that right now. So if you click on that, you're still going to go to the town's page until they update it. Ben is here and he is willing to
I
speak.
thought so. I was wondering if that was...
That's me. Ben did most of the work.
If you would come and
Ben can
introduce
explain.
yourself.
Ben Davis. So you might recognize me from Shaw's. That's where I spend most of my time. I have a degree in digital media, so I did the website. I just did it as a volunteer, just to, I want to keep my skills up to date while I look for a job. So just something to throw on my resume, do something for the town. Right now, it is up and running, ready to go. It has some stuff that we will be adding in the future to it, but right now you can access all your forms that you would have normally picked out up here. You can get them right from your computer at home, download them and bring them back, save your trip. There's just the mission statements up and some basic photos of dispatch, booking, some of the vehicles. Some of the stuff we are working on, we're working on getting the public log. Beyond that, we're having a little difficulty with that, but that is in the works. Also, there's a third-party company that is going to be providing a crime map, like a Google map type thing that'll go and put little dots where crimes are happening about town. That will be up there. We have there's email links. Now we've set up some new email accounts for some of the key people. Those are on the website, so if anybody needs to send an email, it's a quick place to find it. Those are up and running now. We have links to the sex offender registry. So it's basically taking all the information and condensing it all in one spot, to make it easy for folks to find.
Well, let me extend my appreciation for the fact that you were willing to come forward and help us with this, because I think it was, I have to give Captain Cecilio credit for attempting to do this, but I think it's gone a lot easier with your help, and I really do appreciate you coming forward and helping out with that, because that is really a service that was badly needed. I think as far as the commission is concerned, we really did need to have our own instead of going to the towns, and I think, I don't know how other
Thank you
people
very
think.
much.
Thank you. It's still a work in progress, but it's on the way.
Right. I believe Town Councilor Paul Weisel has a...
Do you have any business cards?
In progress. In progress.
Could you take a piece of paper and put your phone number, name down where you can be contacted? Because I have a couple opportunities.
Absolutely.
Piece of paper in front of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Barry.
And my regards to your mother.
I will. I'll let you know.
Ben's done all the work. I don't know how much longer he's going to be answering my phone calls, especially when he starts getting some work. Hopefully he'll keep answering my phone calls and we can do some more things. Any other questions?
Not unless somebody else has a question. Thank you for moving that one. The next one is Crime Line.
On Crime Line, Commissioner McHugh and myself have met on that issue. I believe Commissioner McHugh has had some contact with the Crime Line people. We're going to be setting up, as soon as we get a date, a meeting to, the Commissioner myself to go down and meet with them and move the process forward. The understanding that I have is that they are still interested in moving forward. with us. So we're gonna meet with them and see what the holdup is, or what are the next steps we need to move forward. We know what we've already done on our end, and there's already obviously been work with putting up some signs, and the council has been informed of what has been happening months ago. So the next step is, I think, to meet with them and just make sure we're all on the same page as far as the next step. So that's our plan.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have to do as a community to show that our interest is truly there is to get some community participation. One of the things, if you remember, when this was brought forward, that no taxpayers' money is used, but instead it's money that is either raised through, whether or not it's a bake sale or whatever it is, different things like that, rather than use taxpayers' dollars. Okay, so that's something that we have to work on, doing a better job on trying to get that community support. So that's one thing that we're...
That's for the paid out for the tips as well.
Right, so that's something that,
I think we also get some ideas from them of what has worked there to accomplish that task and see what we can do here.
And we don't bake cookies.
And we'll bake cookies, okay.
But that's where we stand with that, so we still have some work to do. Okay?
I don't think you heard you.
That's what I just know.
He did hear us, he pretended. Didn't want us. Okay. Town attorney, research. I think we're at a standstill with that because we're still in the process of gathering information, so we'll follow up on that. The next item is the exit interview research. We did follow up with the town administrator to see whether or not we could have, as was suggested at our last meeting, to have HR, the town's HR person do it. And unfortunately, that's not something that can be done from the town's perspective. They suggested that it be done here, and that
I'm sorry.
Why?
Why? I think because of the issues that may come up during the interview that are personnel issues that should be handled and known only within the agency, and it just should be separate. It's not doesn't come under their.
But HR is supposed to be confidential anyway, no matter where it is.
I think they didn't feel comfortable because they would have some potential reporting requirements, and that then takes it outside the chain, to a chain purview.
Do we not have HR in here?
We do. Well,
Francine was trained.
If I can, yes, that's what, after the meeting, when I talked to the chair, based on the information we got from the administrator and the town HR, that probably the best would be to use our HR, which is Francine.
and put together a panel.
Right, and have, it's up to the commission, but I be able to decide, but the chair and HR person to meet on the exit interviews. The form is still the same, the one we're using is the town's form, and do it that way, so that it is HR that is doing it, it is the department's HR along with the chair, or there's another commissioner if the chair can't make it. So that would be up to you as a board to decide if that's how you want to do it, and we'll make a motion that that's the process we'll go forward on.
It's on the agenda because that's what was requested by the commission, that we explore having the town do it, and we did sit down with them. So now the issue is back here, and how do we want to address it? Do we want to put together a panel of our own, being the HR and someone from the commission? And I guess, I don't know if we need a third person, but that's the question.
I would leave it on the agenda, we'll just have to explore it.
Are you looking for additional research? Are you looking for me to come back with, say, what other departments are doing? I need some direction.
We
Yeah.
already did that.
Yeah.
Survey already.
No, I just wondered, Whether or
the
not-
survey's 50/50,
Right,
I think at this point, if I can, is that your decision at this point is the composition of your board. The last time that I believe you took a vote was to remain as it had been years ago, which was the chair of the commission and the chief. So if you want to change that to the chair and HR, or to a commissioner in HR, or however it is, using the form we have, somebody make that suggestion, and let's see if that's what you want to send forward to go forward for us as policy.
I think the recommendation is the chair and HR. I make the motion of the recommendation.
Who's HR here?
Francine.
Oh. Done. I second.
So you don't need any other information?
No, we don't think we did.
Okay, but just want to make sure.
No, I understand.
Okay. Any other discussion?
If I can, you can always change it if you find that that doesn't, work, or you need information from other areas. When talking to the town, at the town level, it's, I believe, just HR and the employee.
Yeah, I'd like to have the two. That's my
Right.
opinion.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Do we have any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I don't know why I'm saying aye.
You're supposed to.
Okay. The next item is the note of the mobile computer and the impact fees.
I do have Captain Nagel, and I actually have an update on that.
I was looking for him, but I
Yep,
didn't see
yep,
him.
he's here.
Oh, he is here. I'm sorry, John.
If you remember, if I can.
You're too well hidden there.
If I can, the last meeting, we had, the commission had voted to request, to send a letter to the town council requesting
Right.
the use of police impact fee money, and we put together a package of the cover letter and what would be contained in that whole process, the program that we talked about, the project. And I also attached the letter that we had originally sent to the town's then attorney, Bart Mayer, and his response back as far as the authority to use that.
Is it on your agenda for April 14th or 13th?
I don't think you have the agenda.
I don't
yet.
think so. I don't have the agenda.
Right. My understanding is, we did check with the administrator as an update, and she believes that it is going to probably be on the April 14th agenda for the town council. However, what I have is, when Captain Daigle was reviewing the next step of the plans for the project, realized that there had been an item left out of process that was in the letter here. The letter that was signed by the chair and that was approved by the commission was to ask the council to release $28,207.84. The new number, which we would ask you to make a new motion tonight to amend and ask the chair to sign the letter, is $28,949.22. So it's still under 29, but it's gone up by,
741.
What does that reflect?
When we were dealing with the vendors and we pared down the numbers, one of the vendors was asked to give us a revised quote removing certain items. He removed one extra that he should not have. So when I was double checking all the work with some of the vendors, I noticed on his particular one that he removed a piece of equipment that should not have been removed.
Oh, okay.
So in order to add that back in, it's another $741. So we wanted to revise it and get it to the council so we have a proper number for them when they get it for the April meeting.
So do we need to resubmit a new letter?
yes, and the new letter is done pending your signature, but I would ask for the commission to take a vote to authorize you, the chair, to sign this with a new number, and then we will resubmit to the town with an explanation, which council hasn't seen the letter yet, so the council will get the initial letter with the packet of all the backup information.
What's your pleasure?
What's the number, 28,949.02?
22.
22. That's the new number.
All right, I'll make that motion.
Also good.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion of approving the $28,949.22 as the new amount for use for impact fees, that's correct, isn't it? Yeah, okay, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, seeing none.
Madam Chair, if you could sign that, then we will be able to turn it right around to the town.
The next item is, and this is Mr. Loisel, will you?
Why is that on the agenda? I thought that was history.
No, I,
Why, do we get rid of all the graffiti?
No.
Oh,
It-
right.
The fee?
we had,
I think it's an update.
it's just an update, it's just an update.
Oh, it's been passed by the council. It's an active code, if you will, or ordinance. And it mirrors Manchester's to the letter. There was some discussion with regard to
Thank you.
trying to implement whoever is apprehended regarding graffiti, somehow part of the penalty would be to remove the graffiti. But it's a good idea, but it's not practical because it's a judge's call. The judge
Right.
has a guideline of not to exceed, I think the number was $100 or something like this for the charge of graffiti.
The same thing with community service, that would be a judge's call, huh?
That would be a judge's call. I mean, he can do it.
Right,
No one would be opposed to it, that's for sure.
okay.
By the way it's written, I think you probably add some verbiage in there to state that it's a judge's call for community service.
Mhm.
But, to do that, if you'd like that, we can do it. I don't know
I'm not
if
sure
it
you
carries
need it.
legal or
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it has any teeth in it.
Manchester didn't have it
Yeah, I
either,
don't
so I just want to leave it status quo.
So from the town's point of view, we did, our prosecutor did review that ordinance before it went to the council, so we were on the same page with that. And we've also reviewed all the other ordinances, and to give you an idea, because again, remember, just.
Yes, I did see
spread a
the
little bit
number
on
of
this
them.
was the issue of ordinances, whether new ordinances like the graffiti or all the old ordinances. It's great to have all these out there, but they have to be enforceable. They have to be legally written and enforceable. So we did a review, our prosecutor did that review, and I think she actually talked to Carol this morning again about what changes may or may not need to be done. It will be up to the council finally to, your attorney to look at them, but we
I
wanted
think they like it the way it was.
Leave them alone.
Yeah, leave it alone.
Our concern was that it's great to have them, but if they're not legally enforceable, then it's just eyewash, so, but Carol's working on that, so.
But I mean, if you took it from the Manchester one, it must have been gone through its legalese.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
You didn't take one that hasn't been.
No, the
No.
graffiti should be fine, we're talking about all the others.
Oh, okay,
that are on the
well,
books.
I'm, right
Yeah,
now,
no,
we're
no.
dealing with the graffiti
We're
one.
fine, everybody's
Right.
on the same page with that, and we're all, that's all set.
Okay, thank you.
If I could, just for an FYI, when you were talking about the budget, we are, as of February 28th, the expired portion of the budget is supposed to be 67.31%, and we're running at 57%, so we're running about 10% behind, which is good, which means all departments toeing the line and watching the dollars this year. Maybe because the winter was a little milder than what we anticipated as far as plowing and salt and so forth might be a factor. But overall, I was even surprised to see that, community service is down, which usually we're always scraping for money for, in this economy, family service. Good.
Thank you, thank you. The next is the letter to DOT.
I have an update on that. Last meeting, we had talked about, the commission had directed a letter be sent to Mr. Lyford at DOT. I sent the letter out on February 26th. You have a copy that was in your packet.
Right.
On March 11th, we did receive some good news from the town administrator. She had confirmed with a Jeff Brillhart of DOT. And probably the easiest is to read this, so everybody has the right information. This is from Carol. He informed me that after an inspection of the above referenced intersection, which is Benton Road and Route 3, the DOT is going to install another light that will include a right-hand turn arrow signal. This should assist with safer travel on Hooksett Road in the vicinity of the Benton Road intersection. So, if you remember the letter that I sent, that copied you on, was to ask about putting an arrow, that's what we talked about the last meeting. The state is apparently going to do that with an additional light, so I think that the issue has been dealt with by us and with DOT as much as we can, given what we have to work with down there.
And if I might add, that it is at no cost to us.
That's the state.
It's a state.
Correct.
Because I think I read someplace that there was a mistaken impression that it was going to cost us a certain sum of money. That's not the case. The state is going to be doing this, and I think that's good.
Right, I think originally during the discussion, when the discussion of the signs, the DOT had talked to the town planner that said, if DOT put up additional signs down there, it would cost $1 amount. It wasn't supposed to be, it wouldn't be billed to the town. DOT was saying, this is what it would cost the state of New Hampshire to put up the signs.
Right.
We then sent the letter saying, can you look at the arrow issue and the light issue? And they've responded by adding this extra.
I have to say that's pretty good service, given the date of the letter.
Yeah,
I
so,
mean,
Just additional bullet on DOT, I don't know if you've seen the letter that they put out regarding the construction that's going to take place this summer across the bridge on 93 over the Merrimack.
we actually have a meeting Thursday night on that.
Yes, and that's, it's going to be a tough call on the police department to deal with that situation. That's going to be long and tedious.
If
and I
can,
think when you have that meeting, would you follow up and we can put it on the agenda for next time to follow up?
Yeah, I'll be attending the meeting Thursday night with DOT is presenting to the town what their project is, and then we'll see what the impact is going to be and what their plans are to mitigate that.
Okay, thank you.
It takes in the swing into the 293 too as well.
Right.
So it's,
It's a big project, right.
Long summer.
Next item is the accreditation research, and it says Les McDaniels.
If I
And I
can-
see Les McDaniels here.
If I can just do so quickly, but after the last meeting, Commission requested some additional information on, we talked about the fact that the state of New Hampshire had restarted its voluntary program, and we asked Lieutenant to get some information on what that would be. He put together the packet of information, and that's what was packet that was in your packet to review was the information we obtained. So I guess if you have any questions, if not, you've already reviewed this. If not, review it for a future meeting.
I guess my only question and my only concern is with regard to staff to accomplish this. If we're already short with staff, what is, in your opinion, the chances that we're going to be able to accomplish this? And I think that if you start it and you don't complete it, that if you go back to it, you got to start over again. And I guess that's part of my concern, not that I don't want to see this happen, and but if we're already short-staffed and you're of the opinion that we're not going to get through, and I'm not going to say it's a wasted effort, it's never a wasted effort, but we're not going to be able to complete it. I guess that's what my concern is.
Well, you talk to anybody that's in accreditation or from an accredited agency, they're going to tell you that their accreditation manager is a full-time job most of the time. You need somebody that's on top of that on a regular basis, just because of the compliance issues and so forth, and basically the changes in policy and basically the changes that accreditation require. So it's a full-time job. And with us going into the next fiscal year shorthanded, as a person that's been tasked with policies and procedures, I don't want to be set up for failure. You have the information. I'm glad to see that the state has actually revisited the volunteer state recognition program. I think it's a good goal for us to head for. But I certainly, with the requirements and stuff that they have, I wouldn't want to go into this short-staffed and not be able to obtain it. I think it's something we can attain. I think it should be something that our policies and whatnot should be pretty much geared right to right now.
It's just a matter of getting it all put together and putting the manpower towards that particular goal. And right now, with going into this next fiscal year, potentially shorthanded, I would recommend that, we don't set ourselves up for failure, but still move towards that direction. And now that we have some literature and some groundwork before us that gives us some direction, we can start moving towards that without having to put all the resources that we need to make it a definite go. So I agree with you, Lady Chairperson, that it's a good program. I think
Lady
it's something-
Chairperson, that's a good one, I haven't heard that.
If we continue down that path, I think it's something we need. But I just don't, as a person that's been tasked with that, I'm going to continue moving us in that direction. But I certainly don't want to be tasked with the goal of obtaining this while we're short-handed.
What's your,
My recommendation is that we read that whole pamphlet, which is considerable, and then bring it back and decide what we think we want to do next meeting.
okay, so we can put it on the upcoming agenda. That's a good idea.
It's so labor intensive, it would be premature making a decision right now.
Right.
Especially-
Well, that's why I asked the question, because I have some concerns about it.
Well, I think we have to wait till after the deliberative session.
Right.
But at least let's get the packet read,
Well,
see what
yeah.
we think.
If I can, I would recommend that you definitely read it, and then we have a few months or a little bit of time before town meeting, and then ultimately the citizens vote on the budget, that in those subsequent meetings after tonight, you'd be able to ask more detailed questions of Lieutenant McDaniel about maybe a little bit more on the manpower or the supplies or timeframes or whatever, based on once you read that, and then once we see what happens with the budget, we'll have a much better idea about how to approach it, whether to approach it, number one, and if we do, how to approach it, and in what level, what force we can approach it.
Go
What's
ahead,
the
Dave.
date for town meeting?
April 3rd?
Third.
3rd,
You
April
know, a
3rd.
couple months, a
9
couple
a.m.
weeks.
Yeah, but we still have to see what the citizens vote. I mean, I'm thinking,
Deliberative session is April 3rd. Town meeting is May.
That thing should be unlocked during meetings.
Unbelievable, thank you.
Les knows that feeling. Couldn't find the key.
I was searching up and down, I was all ready to go upstairs.
Although, although the deliberative session will give you what the bottom line budget will be and what the default number is,
right,
but you don't know,
right. I mean, at least after the deliberative, we'll know what the lowest number is, and you'll have a much better idea to say
Yeah.
how much we can charge into this at all. But I agree that read through it. I know the Lieutenant has some more plans, I believe, to talk to the Police Academy about how they implement it, how we would interact with them. I think we can have a much better discussion at the next meeting, and we'd also have a better idea what happened in the April meeting.
Okay, well, let's make sure that it's placed on the next agenda. The next item I had asked to put on, just so that folks are certainly aware of, and you have it, I think it was left on at your place at the table this evening, a copy of the, what the Budget Committee is recommending for the budget. And I believe that's the difference between the two. It amounts to $414,848.
Well, when you're looking at the chart you have from the town, you look at that chart, what you're going to find is, going to the top, column 6, column number 6, when you go all the way to the bottom, that is what the department's request was, or
Right.
as we said earlier, that was the commission's budget. Going over to column 8, that is what the town council recommended
Right.
after our presentation.
Which was the 63.2 or whatever the difference was.
And then column 9 is
The
what
budget.
is the budget committee's recommendation. Column 10 shows the difference, column 11 for comparison is the default.
But was the Budget Committee, I thought the Budget Committees, they must have added the 63.2.
Yes, you had to, right.
Okay,
Right,
okay.
that is the change from the department's request
Okay,
to the final, so there were two to adjustments made to your budget that was sent through that's working into the 414.
I just have a question, and this applies to the 10% rule. Do you know how this affects that? Because this is greater than.
I'd have to double check.
Does anybody know about the 10%
I believe the
rule?
10% is what you can go up and down at town meeting.
Yes,
in
that's
this
correct. My
process.
understanding, if you go into RSA 32, I think it's 3214, but it's one of the RSAs, will address that directly. I think it's 3214 or 3216,
10%.
which is the 10% factor.
And I believe is that 10% that can go no more than 10% at
10%,
town
so
meeting on the
it can't
floor.
be changed any more
And I
than
believe
that.
it's only, if I read the RSA correctly today, Madam Chair, I believe the 10% is one way, it's only up.
Okay.
For the total bottom line of the town budget.
Okay. I guess with regard to this, and I just want to ask a couple of questions to the commissioners. This is there are two figures here. There is the Budget Committee's recommendation, and there is the Police Commission's budget, okay? I'm just wondering, with regard to the commission itself, how is it that they want me to go into the deliberative session with regard to this budget? And is there anything that the commission is willing to concede on? And the reason I ask this is this figure, and I believe Officer Durkett said it right, really puts us in jeopardy and having quite a difficult time. And I'm just wondering whether or not, or how the commissioners feel about this. And is there any approach that they're willing to take? Or one question that was posed, flipped at the last meeting, whether or not the commission was willing to suspend the raises to see if this would put a more positive, I'm not going to use the word spin, but a more positive approach on this budget to see if we can get the budget. Now, like I said last time, we discussed it, and I was of one opinion, of another opinion, and he said he kind of wished you were here.
I'll comment.
I think he thought that you were going to be either the tiebreaker or whatever. From my standpoint, I hate to say this, but I think we're kind of in a crisis mode, and I think that we should do something. You know, I did ask the chief last month, as the chief, and I'll look to him again, that he is the leader here, and I guess I would ask him if he's willing to not take the raise to see if we can get the budget. And I'm just asking the question, this is no pressure on anybody, but I'm just asking the question whether or not he would be willing, because...
I think the raises were proper, and I think they should stay as the commission voted.
Okay, like I said, I just posed the question, there's no pressure on anybody, I was just asking the question, and
I was planning on commenting on the raises under other business, but in relation to the budget cuts, I feel that there's no way we can adequately protect this town with these kind of budget cuts. I looked at this article last Friday night about officer tested after brawl with suspect. It says the officer scuffled with Maine until backup arrived. Here's a man that took two $50,000 vote charges, and he still kept coming. Now, there's some nights out there we're probably only going to have two people, and they were waiting for a third man out there. I guess my question is, we're putting these people in harm's way. What are the ramifications, Chief, to this commission, to this town, when we're putting people out there in this kind of predicament? I mean, yeah, you know, when I take Officer Durkis's comments, you know, fell right into this. I mean, we're trying to cover at night with 3 people an area the size of Manchester. And I just don't think it can be done. I mean, there are going to be some nights, somebody's going to call in sick, no one's going to fill the slot, we're going to have a problem. So what are the ramifications to us?
What I was just suggesting, that if perhaps from our standpoint that we were willing to go in and say that we would suspend them, would that bring a more favorable outcome on this budget? And that's all I am stating. And what you just said, I agree with, that it's going to be difficult, but I certainly will go in or attend the meeting and do my best to, you know, bring forward the information with regard to, you know, the budget and what we've explained thus far. But I'm just asking the question. Like I said, last time we discussed it, and Dave, Commissioner Gagnon, said that he understood that it was bad timing, but I think he was looking for someone to break a tie.
Did you meet with the staff? That was
No.
part of the recommendation.
No, I did
So you
not.
didn't bring anything back
No.
to change my mind? Or,
Nope. I did not meet with the staff, because if I was the staff, and I'm not holding the staff to what if I was the staff person, I'd say, yeah, I would want to get my raise.
but you still agreed to meet with them?
Joanne, I've been waiting to hesitate. I mean, I've been waiting, I was going to comment on the pay raises and other business, but seeing as we're there, and I've been trying to avoid this, but I guess I can't wait any longer.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if anybody read this article in the Sunday News by Alec O'Meara. It says, Londonderry approves pay hike contract for union. This is analogous to where we're sitting right now, and I want to read this. It said, after 4 years without a deal in place, members of the Londonderry Administrative Employees Association will get a 10% raise in the 2011 fiscal year after voters approved an independent fact finder report at a town meeting yesterday morning. The 2-year agreement recommended in the report also gives the 26 employees, which is about double our size, in the union an average increase of 10.8% in the first year and 7.8% in the second year. The union represents mid-level supervisors across all municipal departments, including police lieutenants, fire captains, and the town planner. The report recommended the high raises as a means to remove wage compression between members of the union and subordinates. Police Lieutenant Chris Gandia said Tim Jones, a sergeant who was recently promoted to lieutenant, saw his base pay reduced following the promotion because of the compression. We have sergeants in this town making $10,000 to $20,000 more than our command staff that have all been here 20 years plus. They're on call 24/7. Some of them work 50 to 60 hours a week. Okay. He goes on to say, I hope that Tim Jones will be the last one of us who takes a pay cut for the purpose of accepting a promotion, Gandia said. The approved contract will have an additional cost of approximately $117,000 in the 2011 fiscal year. Our pay raises for this first, as you know, because we spent five meetings on this, Fred Bishop put this wage scale into place probably 10 years ago. The thing's gone out of whack probably 3 or 4 years ago. We're talking $13,436 for this fiscal year. That's what the raise is for the command staff. $26,874. So if you think that's a lot of money, well then, wait till we get a union. And that's where we're going.
it's not so much that I think that sum of money, but I think what has happened is that throughout the community, it's not only the budget committee that has not recommended raises, that the town council has not even been willing to bring forward raises. And I guess, in talking to people in different departments, it's that we're being asked to hold the line. I'm not saying down the road, and I think I expressed this at the last meeting, that come July, that we need to work with the town council or someone to see if we can put, you know, those positions that are totally out of whack and put them where they should be. But right now, we're fighting, or whatever it is out there, that so many people are not getting raises, so many people are having a difficult time, and I'm just asking that shouldn't we consider that in hopes of getting our budget, that we understand, you know, the sentiment out there. Like I said, I agree exactly with what you said, but sometimes you have to sit back and say, what is, you know, the proper thing to do for the time being is just to pull back and then work on it again. And like I said, I am not saying that these people don't deserve it or they're not in line. I'm just asking the question. If you're not comfortable with it and you want to maintain your stance, that's fine. I'm just asking the question because, like I said, when this goes to the deliberative session, this will certainly be the topic of conversation. And that's all I'm asking.
Yeah, it's like I
I'm
told
no
you.
further than that.
I think $13,437 is an immaterial amount. And when will the timing ever be right? Will it be right next fiscal year? I think this economy is going to get worse. I don't see it getting any better. So, you know, and you want to get back to spending, I mean, I hate to bring up old stuff, but town council, like on a warrant article, we voted to kill an ambulance for $100,000, and now we're up to $163,000 for an ambulance.
We're not going to go that route because we did talk about that. I guess I was just saying it in the spirit of what has been going on in this community, to follow suit with it and to work. And like I said, it is no disrespect to the people that hold those positions, because I think it's something that needs to certainly be addressed. Yes?
We met their budgetary requests. We came in, what, 1.5% under what they asked us to?
That's right.
Even with the $13,000.
Okay, that's fine.
Because,
I have
a little bit of history. A couple of years ago, we had the same scenario where we were holding line on the budget, and at the same time, we wanted to give the administrator an $8,000 raise. He declined it. He says, based on what the employees were getting, he declined the raise. He said, maybe next year, with better timing and so forth, he said, right, decline the raise. That's
So we want to hold our stance? You want to hold your stance?
Absolutely, I think it's
Okay.
immaterial.
I just feel that, I think that we should be willing to do that since they already pulled out the other one. And I fear, as Officer Durkis said, that if we end up with the budget that we have, it is really, that has been recommended, it is really going to be difficult. And to say that we're giving someone a raise, given the fact that, you know, we can't even have the officers, that's a difficult thing. And like I say, this is no disrespect to the people that hold those positions, because I think that they're even working harder than they ever had to work, based on the fact that we have a reduction in staff.
Joanne, this was not a seat of the pants thing. We had
I know that.
We
I
had
know
5
that.
meetings on this. You did the research.
Right.
All right, let's
Okay.
move on.
Okay, I just wanted to get that out. The administrative assistant having access to the town's website, the portal, to post the meetings and whatnot, that still has not happened, okay? And I spoke with Carol, and she said she would like to move that along, but up to this point, that has not happened. And twice now, we've been in the situation that somebody has not been there to get it posted. The only safety piece that we have in place is that we are making sure that it's not only posted here, but it's posted at the library besides, okay? But it really should be posted on the website, but in the event that that person's not there, so we have to continue working on getting that.
My understanding is that's being worked on from an IT point of view at the town hall, but that's nothing we control.
Right, but we have to make sure that that happens, okay? Yes, if you had something?
We have our own website now, we can post there too.
Yes, that's a good point.
And I also would, we can have our own website.
Yep.
I mean, nobody knows about it enough yet, it can't be the only thing. Are we gonna post a website on the back of the cars, like Manchester does? Just so that people will know it's out there?
We can
I mean, I don't think it's that big of a cost.
put them on the bumpers. That's what everybody else has them on the bottom of the bumpers, so yeah. we can-
Well, I mean, it's new, and we've never had one. and-
Yeah, I didn't think of that, but yeah, sure. That's not a
What, do you have to get stickers or?
Well, yeah, I would have somebody put them on, but I don't think it's gonna be that expensive.
I'd probably guess probably under $50 a car, probably have it.
I would say probably a lot less than
Yeah,
that.
I'm just being conservative.
No, I know.
Yeah, we can do that, that's not a problem. All of my
Well, let's,
vehicles will let-
how about we bring back a price?
Yeah, you
What
need
it
to
would
come back
cost.
with a price as to what it's gonna cost.
I just think if you don't tell people it's out there, it's kind of another useless piece.
However, if you click onto the town's website, it should be stated there that you can, so that's another thing to make sure, that if you go to the town's website, that you can click on from there.
Well, that would be,
I think you have that ability through the town's website to get to the library site, don't you?
yeah, but ours is brand new, I wouldn't count on that being there.
No, but I mean, at some point.
Yeah. Well, can we just check the price on that?
Oh, certainly.
Please.
I'll have a price for you by next.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
A couple extra things. We had sent an email to Carol about reference, Councilor Lizelle talked the last meeting, I believe was about possible town doing vehicle maintenance.
Yeah.
And the response we had from the administrator was that you would report to the council, but additional personnel may be needed, so that's all I have, but I guess that still means that we're staying status quo as far as I can tell, unless you have anything else further.
I do know the highway department is interested in doing it, that's for sure. They're very positive about it, and what else it entails, I don't know, it requires some dialogue between you people and the highway department.
I think it's, yeah, Carol is supposed to set it up.
Okay, so I just wanted to let you know what we heard on that.
Yeah.
We talked many months ago, and I think that was before you were on the commission, about the fact that our primary, we have 4 antenna sites in town, but our primary site is the Hackett Hill site, which is actually physically in Bow on land that the town leases. We have equipment up there, fire has equipment up there, public works has equipment up there, but we don't have a generator up there. So whenever we lose power up there, we're down to the towers around here, which right now are part of the Boda repeater system, but they're nowhere near as adequate for the town as the high tower up there. That's why it's our primary. In past years, we had talked about the fact of there not being the generator, and the prior commission had talked about the fact that since there were multiple town departments up there, that emergency management should look at a grant for putting a generator up there. It shouldn't be just the police department's responsibility to put a generator up there for the town, for all the other departments. That task, we changes to the personnel and emergency management never got done, or there were never grants out there. However, after the windstorm, the issue came up again, and that we were down for quite a while with no power up at the Bow Tower. I should say the Packard Hill Tower, which is in Bow. A follow-up meeting that was held, which Captain Daigle attended, as far as how the town responded to the windstorm. Obviously, had the captain bring up the issue, because he's in charge of communications, the issue of us losing our primary ability to communicate because the generator still had not been, problem up there had not been dealt with.
Chief, how big is generator?
I don't know the size, but the information I have from Carol where I was going was that the emergency management has looked at the cost, and it would be $5,500, and the administrator was proposing that the three primary departments, police, fire, and public works, split that cost of putting a generator up there. So it would be basically $1,833 per department. The grant request would be put in to the federal government, to FEMA. If money was received, then it would be applied back to the appropriate departments. So I want to see what the commission's thought was. The last, again, where we were before was, it was up to emergency management to do it. Now the proposal is for us to take in a third.
Request to see the details of that. That sounds like a portable generator to me, and it has to be wired in correctly.
I don't know if
it's
Captain Daigle has any other information on it.
If it's a portable generator, somebody's going to make sure there's constant fuel at it.
It's going to be permanent.
It's going to be permanent.
Highway Department will do the site work as far as a pad for it to be on. I did speak to an electrician from Performance Electric, who was one of the individuals that gave the bid, or one of the bids. And that'll be all wired in there on the pad. It'll do its self-test, kind of like the, a smaller version of what obviously we have here at the building, but we'll do all of that.
Okay.
Is there a gas line out there?
No, that'll be set up there. Dale was talking about running it.
Running a gas line or running fuel?
No, they talked about
Propane?
putting the tank up
To run
up
it
there.
on
Yes,
propane?
yes.
Okay.
So that was all discussed, and supposedly that's all thought and rolled into that number there.
Okay.
And that is sufficient enough capacity to take care of that
We
in
believe so,
the
yes.
event?
So basically, we are not, we're being asked to pay for a third of that. We're not involved in obtaining the generator, getting it set up, getting it hooked up, other than making sure that our maintenance people, oversee that part of it as far as the proper hookup. But that's what we're being asked to do.
So are you asking for
I'm just,
for approval for the 183333 contingent upon the fact that the other two do give theirs, and then also that you would be looking for some kind of grant in hopes, or you would
Well,
be
we would-
pursuing a grant to fund
Right.
part of this?
I would modify that, and we would be, I would recommend that we kick in our 1833, the other departments of the town's problem, and that the town is going to be heading toward looking for a grant, not us.
Yeah, but there's no point in pitching in 1833 if the other two are not.
Well, that's, yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Right,
contingent,
right. Well, my
that's
understanding
why I
was
said
they were all
contingent
going to-
upon the fact that
Right.
they're gonna,
All right.
yeah.
That's what we could.
So,
I'll
normally I
entertain a
just do that,
motion.
but where the commission in the past has said not to, I just wanted to,
Motion to create the 183333 for the generator for the
Permanent
Packard Hill.
generator, yeah. And that, yeah.
Yeah, it's not pad.
Just the
That's
generator.
Just the generator. That's our portion
Our
of
portion
the
of the
1/3,
project.
yes.
Contingent upon the other two.
What was the motion?
Make a motion for the 1833 for the generator, contingent upon the other two, Nikki.
3333.
18,000.
No, 1,833.
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, seeing none. And at the same time that somebody is going to be pursuing the grant as well.
All right, town.
The
Yeah.
town is, okay, let's move on.
You're going to put that in the form of a letter to the administrator?
Actually, I would have Captain Daigle just get right back to her, because he's been dealing with that committee,
Yeah.
and that can be quickly, she'll get the answer tomorrow. So,
Next.
Okay, yes.
Two other quick things was, if you remember, in the current budget we have,
You have that approval that you're looking for.
well, there's two things. Number one, in the current budget we have, we were budgeted for one vehicle. We have not purchased that vehicle yet. However, that vehicle, I believe, is in now. So what I wanted to do is to see if the commission had any problem with purchasing that one vehicle that's in our budget this year. The idea is, remember, we talked at the budget time, was that we weren't getting any vehicles next year. With the current status of our fleet, we should get through next year in good fashion. But we're ready to purchase this vehicle.
I guess my only question would be, or one of my questions would be, you're purchasing a vehicle for, do you have more vehicles than you have people?
You can't go to Merchants Center when one goes down.
I know, but I mean,
Well, this is going to be a replacement, because the ones that we talked about at budget time that would be going out in next year, these will be, this and the other one that is getting ready to go, will actually be, even though they're in this year's budget, they actually were considering them next year's vehicles, because there is a vehicle in next year's budget.
there isn't one, because,
There's none in next year's budget.
Right.
So, and we talked
Right.
about the fact
but I
that,
guess I would like to have more of an understanding. If we purchase this vehicle, it replaces
right, well, it's-
one, it
right.
replaces one, and in the overall picture here, what does this mean? You know, like I say, I think we're gonna have more vehicles than we have people.
Well, if you go back to the information that we presented the budget committee about the vehicle and all the vehicles we had,
Yep.
we're not increasing the fleet by any. This will be a replacement vehicle that will take care of,
But my question is, how many vehicles does this give you, and how many people need vehicles? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because we're down, I don't want vehicles just sitting out here. That's where my
Well, I think-
my
I guess
hesitancy.
without having it in front of me, I'd go back to the information we presented at budget time as far as where our fleet is. So we need the
Could you
amount of
come back
vehicles
with
we
that
have.
next time?
Didn't you read it?
I did read it, but I guess I don't have a comfort level with regard to, you know, the number of people. That's where I stand, you know.
I guess we're just looking to maintain the fleet where at the size
I'd just like a
it is.
little more information.
Bring it back.
Okay, Les, you and I can work on taking that information up.
Most certainly, Chief.
Let's see, the last thing they had was, one thing I talked to the chair about is, we have maintenance agreements that are coming up. One runs out this year, and three, in talking to finance, in numerous years, we've historically prepaid. Microsystems for our in-house computer system, Mosby Mountain Electronics for our system, our maintenance system for all of our radio stuff, Acorn Recording Solutions for our digital recording system, and then the document system, which is actually billed for this budget year for our scanning back there. I talked to the chair about the fact that we have traditionally for many years, and I talked to finance also, done the first three as prepays, and wanted to continue doing that, and the chair wanted me to bring it to the commission tonight. You're looking at, these are the ones we do every year, these were budgeted every year. Microsystems was $14,231.20. Mosby Mountain Electronic, $13,908. Acorn Recording, $2,600. And New England Document Systems, which again ends this year anyway, is $1,060.
I think the more important thing is, and this is why I asked them to bring it forward, that people not be confused that we are prepaying or buying things for next year's budget. This is just the way it's been done over the years. And I had the chief speak with Christine from Finance, and she said as long as you're not doing two within a year, that's fine. So I don't have any problem with that, but I did have him check with her because I was concerned about that someone might perceive it as, we're trying to prepay things so that we can free up money, in next year's budget, and it has nothing to do with that.
Right.
That's what I just wanted to.
So if nobody has any objection, we'd like to go ahead and take care of those bills like we do this year.
You need a motion, would you give them the total amount?
We usually don't because it's budgeted every year, just like even for the car, we don't because it's a budgeted item.
Well, you had said at the meeting that you wanted it.
Well, if you want to, if you're concerned about
Yeah.
perception, then I would ask that you make the motion so we can.
What's
we
the
can pay
amount?
bills. Microsystems is 14,000.
The total
No,
amount?
I didn't total it up. I didn't total it up, except for 4. You got, you got a calculation?
Do you mind?
No, go right ahead.
What do you got?
14,231.20 plus
Wait a minute, what happened here? All right, start again, I'm sorry, Steve.
$14,231.20 plus $13,908 plus $2,600 plus $1,060.
That's not right. Your calculator's broken.
It's not broken. You don't know how to work it. Add it up for him, huh?
The numbers are wrong.
Add it up for
We'll
him.
do it individually, then, if you.
Yeah,
You want to do it individually?
yeah.
Okay.
Just state the amount.
Okay,
He
Mike-
can make the motion, and you can state the
Okay.
numbers,
Okay.
if you're agreeable to that.
I make the motion to accept the Microsoft prepaid.
Microsystems at 14,231.20,
Okay?
Ospey Mountain,
Ospey, I make the motion, Ospey Mountain prepay.
13,908, Acorn Recording,
I make the motion to take Acorns prepay.
2,600,
Last one.
New England Document Systems, which actually isn't a prepaid, that's due this year.
New England documents that we paid, what amount?
1,060.
All right.
Okay. Is there a second
Second.
one with regard to that?
Second.
Any discussion with regard to that? And you understand why we're doing this? Just so that everybody...
Oh, we understand.
Okay. Okay.
Wonderful.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, okay.
That's all I had for my other public session.
Other, new business, anybody have any new business? Okay. Other business, no. Items for the next agenda?
I have a couple of comments. I don't know if they come under new business or...
Well, they do come under new business.
Well, okay.
It's new
They could be
comments.
on other business.
Okay, whatever.
I'd like to refer to the Hooksett Banner again. Ms. Kozlowski's editorial of last week. I don't want to spend much time on this. She's speaking about our Vegas Worthy street sign. We all know it's documented. It was requested by town council, and it was authorized by them, and we proceeded. It was supposed to be here, 12, 13 years ago, and there's been some liability issues from town, from some of the communities where people couldn't find the safety center, and it resulted in some lawsuits. The other one is where she mentions our paddy wagon, and I'm hoping the Ancient Order of Hibernians corrects her, but our transport van, I would like to go back and refresh people's memory that David Booton, in the March of '09 maintenance minutes, stated that the state was on a fast track to close the Hooksett Court and to make plans accordingly. We bought the transport van. We're into it for $43,000. It does double duty. I've seen Lieutenant Klein. I've seen some of the sergeants patrolling with this. If anybody read the Union Leader Sunday, Chief Justice Broadbent says, name a state agency that has more locations than Walmart. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Broadbent did last week. His court system. The main issue is the state's
We know all about
34
the
district
court
courts. Pardon? Okay, well, all I'm saying is, this court closing issue has not gone away. So, we planned accordingly, and we're being chastised for it.
Okay. Is that it, Ms. Floyd?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else having, any other business? No? Items for the next agenda, I think you took them all down? You took them all down, so we don't have to go through them again? Okay, the next item is the public input. Is anyone here wishing to speak? And please come forward and identify yourself.
Well,
5 minutes.
Myself, I hope to get as much time as the people before me, Madam Chair, which was not 5 minutes. My name is Dick Sullivan, live at 7 Morgan, and I have the same feeling tonight that I had it the other night at the council. I showed up with just a few things to say, and my head is absolutely swimming after this meeting. Madam Chair, with all due respect, you have served this community in a number of capacities, and I respect very much your work that you do for this town. But I thought that you, although you stated you did not want to put somebody on the spot, that your question to the chief about giving up the salary was totally inappropriate. And other than that, Mr. Roy came in and stole some of my thunder, so I'm glad a few other things came to my attention.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'd love to share those with you. Preliminary situation, where they recommended something on the order of 18 to 19% for the management people, was the result of a third party investigating the situation and looking at how long these people had not been adjusted. And it was not just the local town. Relative to those raises, it seems to me that shortly after that came to be a topic of conversation, I thought I heard Mrs. McHugh make a statement that she thought granting those raises was being fair, that some of these adjustments should have been done years ago. And I distinctly remember that as a comment at that time. And I think it's still fair, even though it's not popular. Relative to the Budget Committee, I also appreciate Mr. Roy giving us the figures that folks want to turn our administration upside down for. $13,000, $26,000. Now, small change, if you take a look at it. Budget Committee. I've gone to several Budget Committee meetings relative to the police department and other departments in this season. And I know that at the last Budget Committee meeting, Chairman Peroni had expressed a concern that perhaps the cuts were getting too deep, that they were getting into bone, not flesh. And I left the meeting shortly after that, so I didn't see the conclusion of this. But he wanted to establish what I'll call a $100,000 slush fund, safety, in case we ran into situations that we couldn't put enough men on the street, could not break the department for the benefit of the community. You want to find some way of not giving $100,000 back to the budget, but maybe give it to the council. And Mr. Myville wanted to establish it so that the Budget Committee could render that money if necessary. But Mr. Peroni reminded him that couldn't be done, that once the Budget Committee recommended the budget, the town meeting spoke, that they're essentially out of business until the next year. So I think that we should all be aware of the fact that even the chairman of the Budget Committee is concerned that they've cut too much at this time. People keep mentioning the townspeople are angry. They're angry about these pay raises. I'm sure that a PR person could readily get people angry with items like this. given the economic conditions that we're facing. But they're not just angry at the town level. They're angry at the federal level, they're angry with the state, they're angry with the town, they're angry with government, they're angry with the fact that I might lose a job. These are the reasons people are angry. A matter of $20,000 or $30,000, I don't think, is quite enough to turn our entire police administration on their ear. If you said they should have had an adjustment, you had the discussions in committee, in non-public session, as is appropriate. You decided they should get the raises. That's what it ought to be. The town council is not responsible for making those decisions. This commission is. That's what you're charged with. It's your job. Even though some other people would like to take a share of it, I declare that they can do it. This is the job that you're doing here, not elsewhere. The number of folks speak before this meeting and have been beaten up the chief and the administration for a year and a half. It started off with they wanted to have a full-time SRO. The chief, for budget reasons, wanted to limit the hours. Now, those same people have gone from the hours of an SRO all the way to where they are now. They want to destroy the chief and get rid of him. And Mr. Pearl has even published that within the last 10 days or so. But yeah, he does want to fire the chief and get rid of the chief. That was in response to the fact that he might be violating a couple of state laws. He didn't care. Did hissy fit. Jumped right up on his website. Yeah, I want to fire him. Vitriolic. Hardly the kind of leadership that I expect out of what should be the most respected committee in any town, budget committee. It's not the kind of conduct I expect from a financial leader in the community. Some of the other members of that group have some of the most creative stuff in the world. We hear that the administration is totally incompetent. The administration, also including some of the guys behind me, who carry a badge, a gun, and a little brass up here. We hear terms like departmental incompetence, failure to thrive, a couple of nuance nights, stagnation, malaise, and there are a couple of others. The item of failure to thrive. This is often used within the military community, and you have to thrive before you succeed. The next step is success. I'm kind of an old guy, and my measure of success tends not to be statistical. It's on the ground. We heard one of the results that I've been fearful of as the administration has been beaten up the last year and a half. And we had a gentleman asked, I don't know, stand up and indicate bad for morale. Well, that should have occurred to everybody who's been trying to fire the chief, make you guys look like you're totally incompetent, somewhere in the last year and a half. If I were somebody out there on the line, and I was looking at that, that's going to be part of what people think of the police officers, that they're incompetent. You can't rely on them, when just the opposite is true. Even Mr. Levant has come forward to say they're very competent, very professional, do their job well. I didn't hear him say that they're incompetent. Well, how is it that you can have a competent line force if the administration is so goddamn incompetent?
Excuse me, we don't use that language here.
My apologies, no. My apologies. So, on the area of competence, recently, there have been a number of situations in town that I noticed that the police force here to solve the situation in fairly decent time. We had an old lady, an older woman, I didn't say an old lady, she was an older woman, seasoned citizen, who was attacked at Shaw's. Her pocketbook was taken from her, she was dragged, she was injured, and out she went. Within a matter of days, our department had located a gentleman in Manchester who was a driver, and a lady who took off and went to Chelmsford, and identified her, problem solved. We had a number of neighborhood issues going on. There were 3 neighborhoods involved. One was neighbors of one of our outspoken counselors, and it turned out to be a 19-year-old boy who lived in the neighborhood, was busting into the neighbors' houses, stealing TVs or whatever else could be grabbed. And he was in a concert with a 19-year-old friend in Manchester. Seems as though there was some drugs involved in this as well. There's another group that was up here on Granite Hill, breaking into cars, breaking into houses. Lo and behold, same deal. This young fellow was actually a prime example of the kind of incompetence of these people. He happened to pick a neighborhood that had a state trooper who lived there, who lent some assistance to our folk and staked out the area and caught him. Now, each of these instances, the problem was solved fairly quickly. There was cooperation between the neighborhood, the guys on the ground, the administrative people. Captain Cecilio was involved with several of these situations, and we just had one the other night. Jim Gordon, one of our counselors, his wife woke up in the middle of the night, and there's some young fellows looking to break in on a property across the street from her. Her family owns the property, and they use it for storage. They might be looking to break in. Called in. Bad guys were picked up before the night was over. Now this, so far as I'm concerned, each of these cases, and the fact that everybody who seems to deal with the line people here speaks very highly of them. That to me speaks highly of the people who train them, who operate the department, and who supervise them. So I hope that we hear a little less of that kind of stuff, and I wouldn't see that as a malaise. So, there's been a mention here recently of school safety reports. On the earlier history of the school safety reports, many of our folks don't understand the school safety reports are not supposed to be made public. The people who are supposed to deal with it, the chief and the superintendent, and the person in the school department who witnesses the action that's threatening to a child is supposed to report it to the immediate superior. They're not supposed to turn it out into the public domain. And maybe some folks don't understand that laws are written so they can be followed, and that information doesn't get into the wrong hands. And that's kind of the essence of what I wanted to comment. There's another 4 or 5, but I've gone on a bit. I really get annoyed by some of the constant harangue that the administration and this department have, and I hope that the folks who have been doing it might realize that they're not doing the town or this department any favors with what their actions are. Thank you.
Okay, I just have here, and I'm going to give them to the chief, and you can copy them and put them into the packets. I received this postcard in the mail, and it's from somebody, I guess, who was vacationing in Shenandoah Valley, Virginia. She lives in Hooksett. Her name is Shirley, and she said, "Hi, Joanne, I cannot afford the chief of police pay raise." And I got another letter, and I'll have you put it in. And I also, quite surprisingly, received a call from Florida, from somebody who lived in the community. So I'm just going to give this to you, and you can put it in the, okay? And we're not going to belabor this anymore. Yes,
David Pearl, 79 Main Street.
5 minutes now.
Could you please cut me off at 5 minutes? I have 3 points, and I'll make them very, very quickly. I'm not prone to hissy fits, and I don't throw hissy fits. Yes, I've said that I'd like the chief to be, I'd like him to resign personally. I think then we can move on. I respect all the officers in this department. That's why I'm here, that's why I'm involved in this, particularly the past officers. And I would remind people they are not ghosts. They're people now that are gone on to other lives, but worked here for us at that time. Mr. Roy forgot to mention one very important part about the Londonderry raise. That was approved by the voters. And I think that is at least half of your problem here. You did the vote, you did these raises in non-public. I don't think that you had standing to go into non-public. I've heard Mrs. McHugh's argument that the captain brought forth a memo, therefore it was a personnel issue. But I also heard Mrs. McHugh argue that these were equity adjustments and not merit raises. So that these were being based on positions. We heard that argument for the lieutenant position needed to be more than the sergeant position. We never heard names. And I respect that. And we accepted that these were equity raises. Therefore, if they're equity raises for positions, they should be discussed in public session. Because these are not about whether a certain officer is doing a good job or a bad job and should he get a raise. And that was clearly explained by Mrs. McHugh. So I think that you should look into that. I also have some question about you being able to seal those minutes, and I have brought it to your attention. I'm going to send you some information on that. As far as the accreditation goes, yes, you should do the accreditation. For the last 6 years, you've had money left, you've been short-staffed, the budget hasn't been cut, and you haven't been able to do it. It needs to be done so this department can move on. If we keep putting it off, we're going to put it off forever. I would suggest you go to Goffstown, talk to them. They have done it. And as far as the small group of people, I would like to just comment that the small group of people comes to these meetings, prepared with facts, speaks politely to this commission within their time frame, makes all the videotapes available to all the public, makes all of our comments available to the public. And we are not, if we are pointing out things in this department that are negative, that is not our fault. That is the department's fault. And the Hooksett Police Department would not be in the paper if there was nothing wrong with it, and a small group of people were just making noise every week. I can assure you, the reporters are not interested in people making noise. They're interested in what's going on in this police department. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hold it, man.
I think there's a gentleman back there.
I gotta go to work tonight.
If you don't mind, Mr. Sorrell, if you don't mind letting him go.
Not at all.
Thank you.
Especially if he's on overtime.
I'm not on overtime. I've been working here in Hooksett for 4 years. This is a career that I chose to do, that I love to do. I worked in other agencies, and I found a home here in Hooksett. I'm happy here, they've taken care of me for 4 years. Until recently, from reading everything in the paper, I stopped reading. I'm tired of hearing people badmouth the town, badmouth the police department. I have no issue here. And if I have no issue here, and people are saying I do have issues with my admin, I do have issues with other people, I don't. And I don't know that many people here that do. We come in, we do our jobs. Yeah, we have some forced overtime, and it's not always fun. I work a lot of overtime personally, but it's more by choice than by being forced. All right. Lately, they're talking about the whole cutting our officers down to 23. One thing that's helped most of us get through the past 4 years or 3 years, however people have on, is the fact that someday we might be up to the 27, 28 we're allotted. And we look forward to that. You know, right now we're working on with 2 cars. I could be at Walmart and have to be over here at Shaw's in 5 minutes. It's not going to happen. And it's a dangerous situation to be in for the officers and the town. And basically, I just came here to say that everything the town's saying in the papers, or whoever's saying in the papers, I don't know who's actually saying it. Like I said, I stopped reading it. You know, I got family members telling me to get out of here because of what they're reading in the paper. What it comes down to is the budget issues, the officer issues. It's personnel.
we need personnel, to cut personnel is just gonna irritate people more, roam around more. And the young officers that we do have are probably gonna leave the bigger agencies, we don't have to worry about having one car back now. But that's all I'm saying, because if I keep going all night, I do have work to do.
Thank you for your input.
Michael Sorrell, 54 Cross Road. Very quickly, it's been a long evening. You've really taken some pounding recently on your transport vehicle. Budget committee members, pot shot at it, some elected politicians taking pot shots at it. It's my memory that then Representative Booton came before the town council about a year ago and gave them a heads-up warning that we were going to lose the books at courthouse. I have no memory of any of the representatives, out of the 4 representatives, coming back to the town council or to this body and informing them that at the last minute, where there was a massive scramble about the budget last June, that it got included. I have no memory of that. Can you help me? Was there any information coming to this commission? Because I do remember at the April 21st meeting of the Hooksett Police Commission, there was discussion about being proactive and making sure that you did have a transport vehicle. Was there any information forthcoming from any of the 4 representatives that all of a sudden the Hooksett District Court had been saved?
That's not a question that I can answer since I was not, and I don't know if the other 2 commissioners have knowledge of.
I'm not aware of that.
And yet you're taking pot shots. It was called in last week's Hooksett Banner a toy. It was called a paddy wagon, and I have a friend who was really upset about that. He said they don't call it a walk wagon. Why do they have to pick on the Irish? His comments. So you were proactive. You did what you thought was in the best interest of the community. You did your job. Your job is apolitical, as I understand it, as I read the statute, as I talk to different people. And you are supposed to be apolitical. That's why we have a police commission, to keep the politics out of running this department. And yet politicians would like to make a political issue out of pay raises, a transport vehicle. It could easily be argued, and it's not fair, it wouldn't be proper, that the town council didn't act properly last Wednesday night when they acted in the best interest of the community and did their job and their responsibilities by spending $51,800 for a new trailer for the landfill because there was an emergency. It needed to be done. And they did what was in the best interest of the community. They met their responsibilities and they spent that money. It's going to affect the tax rate. Does that make them bad? Does that make them inadequate? Does that make they did something wrong? No, it does not. But it can easily, politicians will make inflammatory statements about that, and it does not serve the community. What has been done by a few people before this board over the past year and a half is not done in the best interest of the community. They have had a single agenda. They started out with the chief of police, then they started picking on the commission, and most recently now it's filtered down to the command staff. And it's not in the best interest of the town. They come before you and try to make political arguments. You're apolitical. I don't want to go on any further. I'm upset by listening to what some of the people say again and again and again and again. And some of it is simply old news. And they don't have standing. I wish they would share with us their education or their life experience that gives them the thought process that they have any value that they can bring to you. That they are expert or they have knowledgeable about what they discuss with you. That they are qualified to make these criticisms and these analyses and these remarks. I wish they would share that with us so we would be able to put some credit and put some weight on what they say and the arguments that they make and the questions that they ask. But they don't do that. But I also wish that in their other positions in the community that they would go to some of the seminars that are paid for by the town so they could do their job better in those other positions that they're elected to. But they don't do that either. Enough said. Thank you for your time and thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing?
J.R. Willett, 3 Sun Fair Street. First I'd like to say is that you can't tell me if these officers just happened to pass by tonight. I wasn't planning on speaking here. I just don't believe that. I also want to make note that it doesn't appear that the department is short-staffed here tonight, as you can see the numbers that have been here. As far as the HR, I think you're making a big mistake having Francine, and I'm not concerned about the chair, but Francine is closely tied to this department. I don't think she should be involved in the HR. You should have somebody that's an HR person that should be doing this with the office, for the exit interviews. As far as the pay equity raises, I was wondering if you had the opportunity to look at Goffstown, because the chief is making $89,000 a year with it. About the same amount as what our captain, one of our captains makes here. And they are 30% larger than we are. The department budget is currently 11% under budget, which I just found out about tonight, which is approximately about $440,000 under budget, and we're only in March. This is a fact. And we got the rest of the year to go. Certainly there are some items that will be purchased after the fact, but that percentage actually increases over time. If you look at the first month, second month, those numbers are a lot smaller. They're not at 11%. As time goes on, those numbers increase. Anybody that's involved in budget is aware of that. I did not plan on speaking tonight about some of these items I'm going to talk about. But after hearing the comments that were made, I feel compelled to reply. One of the individuals that spoke tonight is under the impression that this department returns most of the underexpended funds to the general fund. I would like to give some credence to another one of your guest speakers tonight. He has continuously made statements that you should only speak when you have the knowledge to speak. And I am also a believer in this statement. So I want to share it with you tonight and go on the record and give you some history about the return funds of this department. And I've only gone back 6 years. (2003, 2004). This is the amount of under-expended line items. It was $369,546. $71,484 was returned, for a total of 19.3% that was returned. 2004, 2005, it was $241, $26, $53,146 was returned, for a total of 22%.
You said $241?
$241,026.
Oh, okay, because I heard dollars.
All right. The 05-06, it was $339,301. The total return was $10,939, for a total of 3%. This is a fact. The 06-07 budget, this is underexpended now, $502,152. What was returned was $208,742, for a total of
$208,000.
I'm sorry, $208,742, for a total of 41.6%. Now, this number, as you can see, jumped up in 06-07. And if you go back and you look at the minutes of the town council, one of the town council members, and I won't say his name, you can go back and look and research the minutes of 1607. The council was questioning about the return funds and wanted to know what was going on, how come these funds weren't being returned. The 07-08 was $475,038. Total return was $317,618, for a total of 66.9%. Again, the town council is monitoring this over the past 3 years. The 08-09, we're talking $504,700. Total return, $358,129 for a total of 71%. And we had one of the town council members that have been here numerous times has kept questioning how much money was going to be returned because they're concerned about the safety center. So looking for the funds for the safety center. We all are aware of this. Excuse me?
They weren't looking for the funds for the safety center.
Well, that's what I heard at the police commission meetings, and I know we have it on tape. So anyways, going from the '03 to '06 budget cycles, only $135,000 was returned out of $950,000 for a total of 14.3%. And the '06 to '09 returns was $884,000 out of almost $1.5 million for a total of 59.7%. As far as John Maroney, if you take a look at some of his voting, I believe that he voted in favor for all the cuts. So I don't know why he was brought up.
For what he said.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? This is last call. This is it? This is it. Thank you. Need a motion?
Gotta have something good.
Yeah, we gotta do
Okay. Which one is that, A2? Which one? Is it the first one? It's non-public? Yeah. Second one, I'm sorry. I need a motion to go into.
I know, I got to make you help.
Under RSA 91.